That was today on Facebook with and that big grin. And he is so wild. I just, he's just out of control. You know, someone was talking about, they talk about the terrible twos, but the threes are
Byron, how you doing tonight?
And join me in the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I will bow. Father, we thank you for this evening. We thank you for all that are here and the ones that be with the ones that could not make it. We ask that we consider all the different possibilities that we have to solve this problem and just let us come up with the right decision. All these things we pray in your name. Amen.
We have our 10-minute public input period. Mr. DeLuca is first name on the list.
Good evening, everybody. Well, I didn't really expect to be the first one, but just kind of give a little bit of input. This past week, myself along with some other merchants got together and kind of worked on a few plans, and I think we've come up with a really good idea for this evening to present, and Zach's got a lot of that figured out. Just one thing real quick. The one thing that I really would hope everybody considers, the last thing we need to do is shut this program down. We're thrilled to death that we have a parking ordinance in effect. Yeah, it's got its little issues and everything was. We knew it would, but it's been great for our business, hands down. Our customers are able to pull up. Again, when you deal with a lot of law offices around you, it's strictly, we all know what the issue is, and that's employees parking on Main Street. Always been the problem, always will be. The biggest thing I guess you kind of need to look at, and the one thing that I see, and really the only complaint that I've heard from my customers, is the old white line issue. Unfortunately, our awesome designer that was behind that project back in the day, she really didn't want to hear anybody's input. Basically, I let her know back then, you're 10 degrees off on these lines and the way the position is. You literally got to pull from the second lane to get your car in. If you're driving a Suburban, a big truck or anything, you just can't pull straight in. Come down Main Street, pull into a parking spot. She missed it by an angle. Again, you step out, you step into a curb, step into a flower bush. She missed on a lot of things all the way down to, she never even planned on putting in a handicap parking spot. Built a whole Main Street program, never thought of putting in a handicap spot. So there was a lot of missed designs there, but she totally missed on the lines. Again, we got a little idea of what we could do about the line issue. But in general, all I'm asking is everybody, consider to have a program in force, stop it, enforce it, stop it. I think we're really going to complicate things. Today, sitting right out in front of the hoagie shop, 4 secretaries, words on the street, nobody's barking. I had 4 secretaries parked in front of the shop today. 3 of them never moved the whole day, 9 a.m., 5 p.m. They were there the whole day. So again, I think Zach and Doug have got some great ideas, and hope y'all might consider what we got going on. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Zach?
So, like Mike said, we've been kind of talking with the merchants, and just 3 easy steps, what I think that we should look at doing. One, let's seriously look at not stopping the ordinance. Mike said I think it would cause a little bit too much confusion. It's already been going. It's been successful, obviously, or else we wouldn't be here having this meeting. People are being ticketed, rightfully so if they're staying for the 2 hours. What we're trying to do is make it more accessible for the guests that come down to Canton to spend money in the retail restaurant establishments. Voucher programs. Doug had brought this up a number of years ago. We believe that's probably the right way to go. So if a guest comes into a hair salon, a restaurant, a retail establishment, and we need as business owners to recognize that they're parking out in front of the downtown area. If there's some way or another we can have a voucher system that if they do have a ticket on the car, either they can bring the ticket to us, we can hang on to the ticket, we can either assemble all those and take them to the police department to be handled. The gentleman that walks the downtown area that hands out the tickets, if he can stop by the places of business, once a day, once a week, once a month, we hand them the tickets, say these are tickets for people that were down here buying business, or buying products from the businesses in downtown Canton and generating tax revenue. That would alleviate the issue that we've got with the, people that are being kind of disgruntled, i.e. towards the business owners. It would also eliminate the employee parking on the streets because they wouldn't be able to get a hold of the vouchers. The third thing we need to do is spin this correctly. Whatever decision that we come, we need to get this out in front of the media. We got it out in front of the media that we're coming down hard with these parking tickets, and it's kind of put a negative mark, I believe, on downtown Canton. So, any other merchants that we talked with earlier, I hope they, had some stuff to add on to that. That's kind of my gist of it. So, thank you.
Thank you. Actually, that was the only two, so that we can make sure we hear from those who do want to speak. Some others came in later. Are there others who would like to speak on this issue?
If you don't mind.
Come on up. Make sure everyone's had an opportunity to say whatever they need to, and then we'll cut off the 10-minute input, and the council then will look at it.
Hi, everybody. I'm Peter. I introduced myself last time. Sorry, I ran here. I just wanted to say that I completely 100% am behind everything that Zach just came up and said. And I wanted to also, I was actually going to say that on his point about the media, I think that's going to be our biggest beast to battle right now. Most of the people that I've heard from since we had discussed this last time had come to me saying, oh, hey, this is what I read in the paper. This is what I heard on the internet. So I think it's no matter what we decide tonight, which I hope we can at least come up with some kind of decision tonight, that, as he said, I think hitting the media really hard is going to be our biggest battle right now to get patrons back into town. So that was just what I wanted to go ahead and put in with you guys, was to say, let's definitely make a big PR push online, on the internet with Fox 5. I know they were here tonight as well, and could be coming down here in a little bit as well. So if we could say anything to them afterwards, or just being able to get everything out there to say, look, we really do want patrons. We want our community to come back in. That's all.
Thank you very much. Anyone else?
I would like to say something.
Sure. Just give us your name and, if you will, please.
My name is John Edwards. I'm an attorney. I've been in Canton practicing law since just after 2001 in the same building at 270 East Main Street. And right now, our law firm occupies about 70% of that building. And we don't have any parking. We have no designated parking. We have no parking for clients. We have no parking for disabled clients. If we have mediation, which is when attorneys and clients get together and try to work problems out, or depositions, when we are asking questions of opposing parties, we have court reporters, we have opposing counsel. They may be from Atlanta, they may be from anywhere else. They come and park on the street, and we have a round robin of trying to rush out and move cars so that we don't get parking tickets. We have no place to park. And we don't have enough 8-hour parking. And if you look at what's gone on since this ticket process was instituted, and I do my best to park in 8-hour parking, but if you look at what's gone on, now you've got a lot of vacant parking spaces, and you've got a real fight over those other parking spaces. Actually, I was talking to one of the judge's secretaries in the courthouse today, and she said that they now have a battle to try to get parking spaces over at the courthouse because they just don't have enough parking there. Sounds like to me that it's a city-county problem, not just a city problem. I'm a resident of Ball Ground, but I've been essentially a merchant or an attorney in this town for 12 years. And the problem that we have is a client might come in and they may need to be there for more than 2 hours. And if they're there for more than 2 hours, it's got very difficult for us to turn around and say, well, you need to move your car to that parking lot over there by City Hall. It's only about 1,000 feet away. So I'm not sure what the answer is. I know that this most recent push to enforce parking has kind of caused the streets to go vacant. I know that we've had several clients that have brought tickets back in and asked us to pay them. One of those tickets involved someone being on the white line by about ½ an inch. They were in the parking space, but they were touching that white line, so they got a ticket. I don't have a solution, but I do know that I've had conversations with a number of other attorneys in town. Several of them sitting right here on the front row. I'm single y'all out, but there you sit. And their situation is the same as mine. I don't own the building that I'm in. They own the building that they're in, and we all have that same problem. So from a different perspective, we're trying to do business. We're trying to be good citizens of Canton. And we're trying to, to make sure that when our clients come see us, that we can provide them with at least a place to park. We don't have that right now. And Mondays especially can be extremely difficult. So that's all I've got to say. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, anyone else would like to speak? Yes, ma'am.
Ellen Ward, I'm a business owner in Woodstock, and Woodstock, as you know, has we don't have a whole lot of parking there, but we don't fine people for over parking during the time limits. I'm trying to find some other venues for bringing business to my bookstore in Woodstock, and I recently had lunch at one of your restaurants, and with mine to have an event there and bring about 60 or 70 people into Canton for an event, and I got a parking ticket. It really pissed me off, to tell you the honest truth, and it really clinched in my mind that I wouldn't be having an event here. I don't want to bring my customers to Canton and then run the risk that they're going to get a ticket. And I feel sorry for the retail establishments in Canton, because this is not a consumer-friendly environment. And it just, I think maybe in trying to gain a little revenue, y'all are missing the point of needing to encourage business, encourage sales in your town, and support. If you've got people that are in Canton for more than 2 hours, they're probably spending money here. They're probably shopping or eating, or, I don't want people to feel like they're going to get a ticket if they're parked in front of my bookstore for more than 2 hours. I want them to be in there spending money, walking up and down the streets, and, like the longer they're here, the more they're supporting your community. And I just think it's, maybe y'all are missing, or whoever's missing the ultimate goal, which is to have the commerce here in Canton and have it be friendly for consumers, because right now it's not.
Thank you very much. Okay. Anyone else? Okay, and our public input period is over, and we'll open it up for the council to discuss. I think I'd like to lead off by saying we're not going to solve this problem tonight. It's not going to be solved tonight. I think that we do need a little bit of time to work out the best solution for the city. And with those two things in mind there, I think we just need to decide how to proceed. The problems that I've been hearing principally throughout quite a bit of time is that a lot of the business owners were taking up parking spaces of the customers, and they would be, quote, a habitual violator. And that was part of the reason in the insistence by some merchants that, we have parking, give parking tickets. You know, we certainly want business to come to Canton, and we want to make it as customer friendly as possible. And you would think that all of the businesses would want that as well, so that they would open up the parking as much as possible and have themselves and their employees park as far away as they possibly could. So, I mean, but there's a lot of angles to this. Maybe there's some extended periods of time. Maybe we need to, you know, change the way we do things. Maybe the voucher system, I don't know. But as you know, those of you who were here at the last meeting, I had asked Mr. Grant and Mr. Yon to work with some of the merchants, and hopefully the chair of the DDA and chair of the Main Street Board, and particularly work with the merchants and the attorneys in town to try to come up with some workable solution. Everyone's not going to be happy regardless of what we end up with. Everyone's not going to be happy. And it's a situation where the city cannot solve a problem totally. That is, we have to treat everyone equally. We got to treat everyone fairly. I don't think we can consider merchants and customers necessarily as two different people, because merchants become customers as well. So somehow or another, we've got to look at that. The city has to treat everybody as fairly and equally as we can. And that's what we want to do, whatever the solution is. Okay, I'll just open it up for the council. Mr. Rust.
I'd just like to ask one question and make one comment. First of all, Zach, you came up and said you had 3 points, and I only counted 2. One was the don't stop the ordinance, the other was a voucher program, was the third one media?
The third is the media.
Okay. And the second comment on the last woman that came up, I don't think we ever designed this as a revenue generator for the city. In fact, we got an investment in this equipment and the people that are writing these tickets. I'm not sure when we're ever going to even break even. That was never, ever the intention. So I just want that to be real clear. We were trying to help the downtown businessmen. If we're not helping them, then we have to look at it. But that was not the intention of this program at all.
Right. Thank you. Mr. Grant?
Mr. Mayor, as you said, we won't be able to solve this dilemma tonight, this issue, and Mr. Yon and I have been appointed to chair a committee. We have had some brief conversations, and I've had some conversations with some of the merchants, well, a lot of the merchants on the streets in their businesses, and some of the attorneys, and we would like to get some representatives from both of those groups together in some of our discussions, because it's going to take all of us to resolve this issue. And as I mentioned, some of the merchants, certainly we all know that the downtown employees are a lot of the merchants' customers as well, important customers, and so we're all in this together. And but regardless, you know, a good solution is going to take some time to implement. But obviously, we have some immediate issues that we need to address now. I think that we all realize that starting and stopping and starting and stopping is not really a great thing to do. But there is a need to do something immediately that is impacting several of our businesses and merchants significantly, as we heard at our last council meeting. I did want to maybe make a motion and put out there that perhaps we go back to issuing warnings for approximately 60 days until the committee has a chance to make a recommendation, and perhaps they can make one sooner than that, but at least give us 60 days to meet with some of the merchants and attorneys. One thing I think that this system has given us is some real-time data that we did not have before. And I think if we go back to the warning, we can gather that data, can look at a little bit more of habitual violators, and maybe that would give us some more information to make some better recommendations going forward. But if we just totally suspend it altogether, I think we're doing everyone a disservice, and we're sending mixed messages. if we go back to the warning tickets, at least, I think that's an easier path back to enforcement if that's what we choose to do. But I think in the interim, we need to look at everything that we're doing and look at the mix of parking spaces. Is 2 hour the right, limit on retail spaces? Is 8 hour, do we have enough 8 hour in the mix? And maybe do a bit of more thorough investigation on that and mix and what parts of town, because we have parts of Main Street that have businesses on one side, and we have, parts on the other, more on East Main Street that have businesses on both parts, so it seems like the scale of businesses are a little greater on one end than the other. So I would just like to put that as a motion as a possible interim solution, other than just totally stopping enforcement, at least so we can continue to gather some data while we're looking at possible solutions.
Okay. Do we have a second to that motion?
I will second.
Okay.
And also wanted to, I know we had discussed briefly, I'm thinking, the more I've thought about that, we might actually, if it's possible, if someone gets 2-3 warnings, go ahead and give them a ticket, because they are a habitual offender, and that way you don't have people saying, I don't care if it's a warning, I'll just park where I want anyway. Just to kind of discourage the habitual offender.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea from the standpoint of, it does give us the kind of data that we need to know. We may know, and some of you know, who the habitual offenders are that take up spaces, particularly in the immediate vicinity of the businesses. But if it gives us data, and we could actually, make an announcement that these individuals are habitual offenders on that, and I think it's sort of kind of a shame situation to where a person probably would not want their business or their themselves, if you get so many warnings as a habitual, or if we go back to tickets at the end of that period, you become a habitual violator after so many tickets, then your name is automatically called out at the next council meeting or something like that for the media. I don't think people really want that. So this might actually be an incentive for people to park where they ought to park. Now, admittedly, that we still got a lot to think about, because the young ladies who were here at the last meeting, it is very understandable that they would need maybe more than 2 hours in some location. But I think, we've had the thoughts of just making it everything 3 hours or 4 hours, but unless we do something about the habitual offenders, what will happen, in my opinion, is they'll park and they'll get those first early in the morning, and then when the person or the lady comes in to get her hair cut and colored, there are no 4 hour or 3 hour parking spaces. They're all 2. But so there's a lot of different scenarios, and like I said, nobody's going to win on this and this, and somebody's not going to be happy. But I think that we can improve the situation. I think we will. Mr. Cummings?
Yeah, I guess the only concern I have is how you identify what an habitual offender is.
How do we divide that?
Define that. What's worse, 6 times parking incorrectly in 1 week, or 12 times in a year? I don't know where you draw that line of what a habitual offender. We need to define that, especially if you're going to try and implement a system where you give 2 warning tickets and then the third ticket's an actual ticket. There's got to be some way of determining, so that we don't get into a question of who is an habitual offender.
I think we already have that definition, don't we, Chief? We've already got the definition out there as a habitual offender, so, that's pretty clear. And if somebody reaches that point, then, we could, if it's a customer or a business owner, if they reach a certain point, they're subject for their name to be discussed or listed or whatever.
I think it's a good point too. Mr. Yon and I also discussed working very closely with police department, just to determine what our technology is capable of, and since they would be the ones that have to enforce that, it's very important for us to look at solutions that's within our system of enforcement and making sure that those can be enforced and making sure they're part of committee and working with us hand in hand to make sure that that works with our recommendations.
One thing I have suggested to the chief before all this came up is that we don't, there's a difference between touching the line and being over the line. And I mean, I think we should look at it as the offense as being over the line versus just touching the line.
Anyone else address?
Well, I'm a little disappointed that we have a motion on the floor about warnings, because now that is a solution, a temporary solution certainly, but it cuts off any other possible suggestions unless we defeat that motion. So I had a thought, and I don't know if it's appropriate to discuss a different thought. I'm not trying to change your motion, Bill, but I have a different thought.
Well, would you not think that, you're talking about for an immediate solution
Yes,
or one that needs to be
tomorrow
worked
morning.
on?
Tomorrow morning, excellent.
What's that?
What's my idea? Well, pretty simple. I mean, it'd be an honors program where every merchant would be able to give out tickets to put in your windshield. And on the ticket, they would handwrite the time that they give the ticket out to put inside the car, and then you got 3 hours of, I need 4 hours or whatever, and they got 4 hours, it's put right on the ticket. And if someone is an employee that does that, we'll scan the license plate and we'll give them a ticket. If they're not a customer, if they're basically lying on that piece of paper.
I don't think we can turn enforcement over to the citizens.
Yeah, we're giving the merchants an honor system to control the parking for their customers. The customer walks in, the merchant says, "Where did you park?" "I parked out in front." "How long do you need?" 2 hours. Give him a ticket, he puts it in the windshield, oh, done. Can't get a ticket for 2 hours after the time.
I think, I think there may be some merit to that, but I think honestly, that's something that needs to come in the working over the next 60 days and be, that may end up being part of the long-term solution. I don't know. But
It's not a long-term good one, so it might be better than warnings, because we'd still be giving tickets for the violators. We don't want to give people an option to come back here and start parking unfairly. This is basically an unfair program that allows people to come in here and take 6 warnings and tell them that knows our parking situation.
well, if they're willing to have their business and their names out there, I guess maybe they could do that.
It would be an honors program, totally in the hands of the merchants. And a guy comes in to Zach's restaurant, going to be there for 3 hours, he writes him a ticket, puts it in the windshield, you can't get a ticket for 3 hours. From the time that Zach would put on there, it's an honors program. If he does that for one of his employees, or he does it, the scan his license plate, will kind of recognize it a good time, and go the ticket for that, or any of his employees that would do that, because they're not a customer. It's only for revenue generators, or lawyers,
Well,
clients.
Okay. We have a motion on the table now, so we need to move along with that. So, do we have any other comments? Okay.
Just one last, what Mr. Russ said, the only disadvantage I see to that is the customers going into the business, then has to go back to their car in order to put a ticket in, and I just don't personally think that's practical, especially if that car is 300 feet away in one of these spots. It would seem impractical to have to go all into business, get a ticket, go back, put it on the
Well, if they're
windshield.
gonna only be there for 2 hours, then they're probably safe anyway. I mean, but if it's longer, then either you walk back, or you go back and get a ticket 2 hours later,
All right, let's go ahead.
Jack, I think Jack had something.
Oh, you have, I'm sorry, Jack, go ahead.
I think the gentleman who spoke here has a point as well. It's not just a city problem we have. We actually have a county problem as well, because we are a county seat. So we have a lot of attorneys here. And, we're gonna continue to have probably even more, because we're writing more laws, and, we're getting larger city. I think that, as I said last time, I think that it's going to take some time to solve this problem. It's not, we may solve this immediate problem tonight, for a few months here. But it's gonna take us really getting into this to help all these merchants and the people that want to come visit Canton. Canton's becoming a destination now to come to, so that we have more people. We certainly don't want to, we don't want to chase them out, that's for sure. We've worked hard to build it up to what it is. So, I hope the council, not just two people, but the whole council will work together to get the right decision. And whether that be a parking deck or whether that be another off-site parking place and a shuttle, I don't know. We've tried that before, it didn't work then, but it might work now. I just want to see us do what's right. Let's spend some time, let's really get into it rather than just gloss it over and make a decision and go on.
Thanks, Jack. And I think that's a point well taken, that we do need to spend a little more time on making sure we get it as right as we possibly can. Anyone else? If not, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Okay, all members voting for the motion. Mr. Hustman is not here tonight, so. All right. Any other items for discussion?
Just so that I clear the instructions, the issue is that we're going to issue warning tickets for 60 days. And we're going to accumulate and analyze the data while the committee discusses other options of going forward.
That is correct.
The committee's going to be meeting, but are we going to be, the whole council going to be?
Council has, any committee can only recommend to the council. So it has to come back to the council for further discussion once they come up with what they believe they should recommend to the full council after discussion with the merchants and attorneys and DDA and all of them. Absolutely, yeah.
Sure.
Grant?
Anyone wants input, certainly will. I mean, I think there's an immediate need, as we discussed tonight, short-term, long-term. I mean, I think it's gonna be a work in progress as we go, but it is city, county, and courts definitely have a need, and I think, again, the media within the 60 days, hopefully, we do know that the whole reason we had this solution is that there was a need, there was a problem, and so I'm hoping that the business owners downtown will recognize that and hopefully honor that and respect it, that there is an issue, and both for, customers and clients on both sides, and hopefully pay a little bit more attention to it while we look at solutions for everyone, so.
Okay, thank you. Which, in one sense, it's a good problem to have. And, it may get worse before it gets better, but it's something we're gonna have to address long-term to correct that thing, but it's a good problem to have. We know we've got business going on downtown now, more than we did a few years ago, for sure. Anyone else? Mr. Russ?
Yeah, the most troubling thing I've heard tonight, I think, is the fact that there are a lot of empty parking places in downtown because of these tickets. Is it because people aren't coming here anymore, or are they finding different places to park? If it's not coming here anymore, not shopping here anymore, well, that's a problem. So we want those parking places filled with people spending money.
Absolutely.
And I think the only suggestion I might have to the committee is if they could make the announcement about when they're going to meet openly. So, I mean, not that you'd ever meet in secret, but the fact that so we can get as much public input as possible and merchant input as possible is very important. Everybody's got an idea, we just have to sit through and see what works.
All right, I agree. Anyone else? If not, I'm going to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So, second.
Second. All in favor? Say aye. Okay.
Is this again tomorrow?
Sir?
Again tomorrow?
Meeting.
Tomorrow.
Everybody come downtown to the Christmas shop.
Come back downtown.